LiBai didn't drink, would he still write poetry? Was he really skilled in swordsmanship? The controversies surrounding LiBai began from the time of his birth. He was fond of drinking adept at swordplay, enjoyed traveling to the countryside, and travels almost the famous mountain and rivers with the Tang dynasty. A natural genius, he spent his life in unfulfilled ambition. Despite being a well-known son-in-law, he was inherently proud, even daring to ask the powerful Anis Galishi to remove his boots. So what kind of person was historical Levi? In this video, let's follow the chronological order and delve to the life of immortal poet Levi. From the young age, Levi had a fund for swordsmanship. It is well known as the trio of Levi's poetry. Fame in swordsmanship and Yang Hu's cursive script were acclaimed as the three wonders of the Tang dynasty. However, what is less known is that Levi's skilled swordsmanship was only second to Payman. In the year of Empress Wazul Titian, when Levi was 5 years old, he began to diligently study. By the age of 15, he had already composed numerous poems, demonstrating his natural talent in literature over martial arts. At the age of 18, Levi chose to live seclusion on the mountain Tikyang in Jiangya, Sichuan province. Dedicating himself to reading, he traveled to the places like Zhuangyu, Jiangxi, and Xinju, which significantly broadened his experiences and insights. At the age of 24, Levi left his hometown and embarked on the long journey. He traveled north to Jianmin Pass, south to Chengdu and Mount Emai, then took a boat eastward to Chongying, and later returned to Mianyong. A year later, he bid farewell to his family and ventured through the three gorges to Yingchang. He then visited Jungyang, his ascendant Mount Lu, where he wrote the famous poem Looking at the Low Mountain Waterfalls. From then on, he never returned in Sichuan. The roads of Sichuan were difficult, more challenging than skating to the blue sky. Yet even more difficult was the unpredictability of fate. At 28, Levi traveled to Yongchu and fell in Suzhou. During the midnight contemplation of the moon, he wrote the poem Quiet Night Thoughts. After recovering, he took a boat from Yangzhou down the Grand Canal of Shui and Tang dynasties, crossed the Qiantang River to Shaoxing, then followed the Cao River upstream to the Tiancha Mountain and Xingshui, where he climbed to the peak and wrote Morning View of Jianyang Mountain. Afterwards, he traveled to Anlu country in Hebei province, meeting Lu Yang and Meng Huang along the way. A year later, Li Bai married the granddaughter of Prime Minister Xu Shuangxi Mishu and settled in Anlu. This was during the Senate of the Tang dynasty, known as the Qiangyuan era, marked by unprecedented economic prosperity and significant population growth under the reign of Emperor Xuanzong. At the age of 30, upon learning the Mengharan was heading to Yongshu, Li Bai went to bid him farewell, and wrote the famous poem, Sending of Mengharan to Xiangshu from the Yellow Crane Tower. As a witness to the prosperity of the Tang dynasty, Li Bai took a detour through Nanyang that year of Changshan, hoping to gain the recommendation of the Prime Minister Xiangshu for the government position. He also visited another princess and high officials, but to no one avail did not participate in the imperial examination, though not recorded is worth exploring. During the early to the middle Tang dynasty, the number of candidates admitted through the imperial examinations was relatively small, and their status was somewhat low. Additionally, Liba's family background was somewhat obscure, with consistent records in historical texts and even the lack of family registry, which would have disqualified him from taking the imperial examinations. Therefore, he chose to seek official appointment. through the recommendation of the high official. While in Chang'an, LiBai resident in the separate residence of Princess Yongzhen, the younger sister of Emperor Xuanzong. She was an early devote of Taoism and often gathered literati and Taoists for banquets and entertainment. LiBai began one of them, wrote a poem for the princess, praising her eccentric Taoist aura. There were rumors of romantic history between LiBai and Princess Eugene, but judging from later events, it seems unlikely that LiBai and Princess Eugene has a deep relationship. Disheartened, LiBai traveled to Binju in late autumn, and then to Binju in winter before returning to Chang'an. After spending about a year in Chang'an and facing the financial difficulties, LiBai left the city. During the period, his friend Wang Yan went to Sichuan. Inspiring LiBai, he wrote the poem Difficult Roads of Shu as the gift to Wang Yan. Upon returning to Anlu, LiBai lived simple life of farming and reading, occasionally traveling and making friends. At the age of 34, LiBai traveled north to Luyong, where he met his best friend Shi Xiongyi. During drinking session with friend on Mount Song, where he composed the poem Bring the Wine. And also this year that LiBai presented his work Ode to the Mingtang to Emperor Xuanzong, praising the grandeur of the Mingtang and the magnificent era of Xiang Yuan. Hoping to secure an official position through his offering. Due to his family background, LiBai was ineligible to regular imperial examination and had to seek office through literary works, explaining why he chose this route. To pursue a career in government, a year later, when Emperor Xuanzhu went out hunting, LiBai, who was also traveling in the west, seized the opportunity to present his ode to the Grand Hunt, hoping to win the emperor's favor. In the same year, LiBai offered a poem Princess Xuanzhu in Chang'an, assisting her in her Taoist pursuing and thus gradually getting closer to the upper echelon and ruling class. 3 years later, LiBai, expressing his frustration with the road is difficult, I shall return, left Chang'an at the age of 40. After the death of wife Lady Shu Li, Bai moved the region of Lui and lived the seclusion with friends Han Hua, Peijan, and others on Mountain Tulay, soon including the Wine of Song, known as the Six Hermits of Yuxi. Soon after, LiBai's fate took another turn. Recommended by Princess Yujin and He Jingxiang, Emperor Xuanzong, impressed by LiBai's master, summoned the 42 years old poet to Chang'an. In the day LiBai was received at the palace, the emperor stepped down from his chariot to Jinin. LiBai was his extensive learning and long-term social observation answered the emperor's question promptly. Emperor Xuanzong, greatly impressed, immediately appointed LiBai to the Hanlan Academy to compose poetry and prose to the emperor's entertainment and to accompany him. However, contrary to LiBai's expectation to achieving great thing, Emperor Xuanzong's summoning was not genuinely and of approaching. Rather, it was to use LiBai's verse to glorify his own reign. It was to use LiBai realized that Emperor had no intention of hosting him or involving him in political matters, only employing him as an attendant and for his poetic skills. At the age of 43, LiBai was commissioned to write poems such as Palace Revels and The Clear of Peaceful Melody. Over time, he grew bored with the life of court-appointed poet. He spent his day drinking and reveling, becoming part 8 Immortals of Wine Cup with He Jishang and others. LiBai's ability to compose 100 poems over a single jug of wine and his reputation for heavy drinking sleep in Chang'an was vividly captured in Dupu's famous poem, which described LiBai as the immortal of the wine cup. However, at this time, LiBai had not met Dofu. Their fateful meeting would occur 2 years later. One day, when Emperor Shangshong requested LiBai to compose a music, lyrics LiBai in a drunken state wrote over a dozen chapters, and even asked the chief Yunchun Galishi to remove his boots. LiBai's arrogance attracted him to the president of Summit Court, who slandered him in front of Emperor Xuanzong, leading to the growing entrenchment. At 44, realizing he would never be given significant role, LiBai left Chang'an. In Luicheng, he met the 33 years old Dofu. They hit it off immediately and become close friends. Traveling together to Xiangyu in Hainan, after parting ways, LiBai went to Xingyi Palace in Jinan, Shandong to receive Taoist teaching. He formally underwent Taoist ritual and became a Taoist priest, composing a poem, The Hero's Journey. A year later, LiBai and Dofu met the third time at Shakyu. Deepening the friendship, LiBai wrote the poem, sending off Dofu below the walls of Shakyu city. After the two never met, by this time LiBai was 46 years old. Having lived over two-thirds of his life, in the following 8 years he traveled south to Yangshu, wrote Ascending to the Phoenix Terrace in Nanjing, and centered his travel around Nanjing, visiting Tai Mountain, Horshan, and Lushan. After returning to his home in Xiongsu, Shandong, he traveled north from Fengchu to Anyang, then through Handan in Hebei to Beijing, eventually returning to Shaanxi. After a period of rest, LiBai left Shaanxi and went to the spring journey in Nanjing, again traveled down to Yangshu, and then continued south to Jushi Mountain. After remaining Jushi Mountain to Juhuang Mountain, he continued south to visit Wangshan. While visiting Taohua Peach Blossom Pool, LiBai wrote the farewell poem, A Farewell to My Friend, Wang Lun. At the time, LiBai had become aware of the underlying crisis beneath the glorious fate of the first Tang Dynasty. He realized that once this illusion was shattered, lying beneath the splendid robes of the Professional era would reveal its true form, and the person to break this illusion would be an Lucian. In 755 AD, and Lucian rebelled under the pretext of punishing Yang Wuzhong, the brother of Yang Weifei, repeatedly sweeping across the Central Plains in what became known as the Un-Lucian Rebellion. Within a few months, the rebel forces captured Chang'an, forcing Emperor Xuanzong to flee south to Xinchuan. His crown prince Li Heng ascended to the throne in Linggu, becoming Emperor Xuanzong of Tang. From this point, the Tang dynasty began its decline. From its peak, LiBai, 56 years old at the time of the was traveling in Jinling, Nanjing, upon hearing the turmoil on the Central Plains, he hurriedly took his family, hiding to the mountain Lu. Prince Yong, Lin Li, and the 6th Emperor Shangshong, hearing the LiBai's fame, sought to enlist him in his service. Initially, reclutant became involved in the chaotic situation. LiBai eventually joined Prince Yong's rank after several invitations. LiBai wrote the poem Song of Prince Yong's Eastern Tour to express his desire to contribute to the country. Ambitious Prince Yong, commanding troops from the four regions, led his navy to the eastern tour towards Tangshu. He was eventually accused of rebellion by Emperor Shuzong, who was surrounded and attacked. Unfortunately, LiBai was also implicated and imprisoned. LiBai's second wife, Lady Zhong, tirelessly sought his release, which was eventually granted through the intercession of the imperial censor Song Roshi. Song Roshi wanted to become LiBai's for an official position, but Emperor Shuzong, holding a grudge against anyone associated with Prince Yong, exiled LiBai to Yelang. At the age of 58, LiBai left the Juangyang prison. He headed towards traveling through the Shuangyong Weibei to Wanglu, Three Gorges, and Chongying to reach Yelang. In 759 AD, due to severe drought in Zhuangshong, the imperial court announced a general amnesty This decree included those exiled for lesser crimes, and LiBai, then 59, finally gained his freedom. After a long period of wandering, he promptly embarking the last journey of his life. His rapid journey down to Jiangxing, the best reflected in the famous poem, Departure of Dawn from Bidli City. Arriving in Jiangxia, he stayed for a while, and his old friend Liang Shi was serving as the local prefect. In the second year of the Qiangyang, Libai, in the invitation of a friend, joined the exiled Jiaji in the moonlit broad trip to the Lokdong Ting, indulging the nostalgic composition poetry to express his feeling. Soon after the return to his old haunts in Shuangchong and Jinling, spent about 2 years traveling between those two places, still relying on others for support. In the second year of the Xiangyuan era, 761 AD, Li Bai, now over 60 years old, returning to Jinling. Due to illness, his wife was quietly difficult. He had no choice but to seek refuge with his relative Li Yangbing, who was serving as the magistrate Dangzhou country. In the third year of Xiangyuan era, 762 AD, Li Bai became seriously ill. On his deathbed has handed the manuscript to Li Yangbing, composing the song of approaching death. Before passing away at the age of 62, the circumstances of Levi's death have been subjected of much speculation and debate, broadly categorized into three: death by drunkenness, illness, or drowning. 1. Death by drunkenness. This version found in the Old Book of Tong, which stated that Levi died of excessive drinking in Shuangcheng. Death by illness. This theory is also supported by other official histories and the research of scholars. It suggests that when Li Guangbai was stationed, Levi, despite being 61 years old, went to offer his service in battle, hoping to contribute to the salvation of the state in his twilight years. He fell ill on the way and returning, eventually dying of illness the following year, and the residence of Li Yangbing, the country magistrate of Dangtu, and the famous seal script culprit of Tang Dynasty. 3. Death by drowning. This more romanticized a popular folk version. Levi, while drinking on his boat in Dangtu, drowned after jumping into the river to catch the moon's reflection, and story fitting with the poet's character. Regardless of the actual cause, Levi's involvement with Prince Zhongding rebellion played a direct role in his later life. After being exiled to Yelang and then pardoned, Levi's life, filled with both legend and hardship, and displayed fact of extraordinary biography. As we reach the end of his journey through the life of Levi, we are left the picture of his poetry. He was not just a poet, he was a symbol and unbridled spirit of romanticism. His love for wine, skilled in swordsmanship, and endless wanderlust have inspired generations. Levi's legacy is not just in his word, but in the emotion he evokes and the cultural footprint he has left behind. As we reflect on his life, it's clear that his poet was more than just a word. On a page was expressed on his very essence. Now it's over to you. Our dear viewers, what are your thoughts on Levi? Have favorite story about him or resonate with you? Please share your thoughts and comments below.